Mining is huge. I mean, we still have 3 active mines in our community. I mean, we're not a past mining community. We're an active community mining. And I know people think of mining as a bad thing, but I think it's something that builds your character, your leadership. It's a community. It's how we survive. I grew up in Miami. I was born and raised in Miami, which is 6 miles west of Globe. We grew up in a mining family. My dad was in the mine for Inspiration Copper for 40 years. My dad worked in the smelter, and that was pretty tough. Back then, the smelter was a lot different than what you see now. Back then, there wasn't a lot of EPA regulations. I remember going to school. I went to school, it was called George Washington School, which was right below the smelter here in town. I remember the smoke was heavy, so heavy in the area because of the no regulations. They've done an amazing job, the mines now and EPA, to regulate that smoke and whatever emissions. I mean, it's pretty clear air now, clean air, better air than Phoenix and Tucson. I mean, with all the pollution you see down there now. I graduated in 1974 from Miami High School. Back then, Inspiration Copper, they had a program for students that they hired for 3 months. And you could work in the mines for 3 months, and then you could go on to your college courses from there. I worked 3 months for Inspiration Copper. Right after that, Pinto Valley was a new mine, which is right outside of Miami, between Miami and Superior. So I applied for Pinto Valley. So in September of 1974, I went to work for Pinto Valley. And I worked first in the Miami area, the Miami Copper area. And it was back then, my first job was walking the line. Shortly after that, I was able to go to Pinto Valley. Pinto Valley was a relatively new mine in 1974. I went to work in the mill, where I was a laborer there. I was very fortunate. I did put in for, back then, the mines had an apprenticeship program, which they would put you through a 4-year program. Your full course was paid for. It'd be on-the-job training plus school at night. In 1978, I was accepted into the diesel mechanic program. So I spent 4 years going to school there, 78 to 82. I worked up to the ranks and became a foreman. I was a young guy back then, and the people that I was in charge of were the older people that had been mining for 30, 40 years. And I learned a lot from them. Just sitting down and hearing the stories from the mining and, kind of what I knew, what I grew up like. So it was amazing. So I learned a lot. I got a lot of great exposure as to being how I wanted to be as a leader in the future. So just from listening to these people, and I think that was key to them and key to me. So in 87, I ended up testing for the city of Globe and the Globe Fire Department, and I was fortunate to be hired in 87. I spent the next 30 years with the Globe Fire Department. The last 18 years of those were as a fire chief with Globe, and it was an amazing career. After that, I retired in 2015. A year later, I ran for mayor of the city of Globe, and I'm in my 2nd term currently at this point. So I had a lot of mentors. Even when I first started sal washing, I mean, these guys, they were true friends. They're all gone now. They're passed away now. I mean, it was a camaraderie, and we took care of each other back then. And that friendship still is there. Some of the people are retired as I am, and we still communicate with each other. As I went through my apprenticeship with the mines, those guys were mentors to me, and I still appreciate everything that they taught me and built me, and it really helped me build my character to the future, to do the things that I was able to do. I would tell them, I've been here all my life. I've never left. I love it. It's the people. People know each other, camaraderie. Just people out to help each other. If somebody's in trouble, we reach out and we help each other. I mean, the mines is different than it was back then. If you look at some of the old ways of doing things, it was tough work. It was tough work. I remember going and with my mom and picking up my dad right after shift. It was tough work. It's not easy work, but it was good work. Like I said, Miami was a booming town back then, and we had everything in Miami. And it was all because of the mines. I think we're the hidden gem where people don't really know where Globe is, or maybe it's a pass-through. But we're seeing a lot of activity here, even through COVID right now. We're seeing a lot of developers and investors coming in. We haven't had a big housing development here since the 70s. Right now we have 100 housing development that's going to go up on Reyes Ridge. And then we have another development that's going to go on Copper Creek. And that's going to be a 100 home development, plus 220 apartment complex, plus a retail shop. It's going to happen, and I think people are going to hear, and we're going to grow here. Come and enjoy the weather. I mean, we're obviously 10 degrees cooler than the Phoenix area. We have a lot of wonderful restaurants. We have 12 Mexican restaurants, and those are family-grown restaurants that are there. We have sushi restaurant that just opened. We have a pizza place called Bravo, and it's an outdoor environment, an outdoor seating area, and it is great. We got the local bars here that do a lot of amazing things. We have a winery now. We just opened a winery a year ago, and that's in the city of Globe. They have over 6,000 plants in that winery, and they're doing amazing right now. Come up and enjoy the food. We have Beshbagawa, that's an Indian ruin, Solado Indians back then. So we have a lot of activity. Roosevelt Lake is only 20 minutes away, 25 minutes away. A lot of fishing out there. We have the Pinal Mountains that you can travel from right here in 25 minutes and be in 8,000 elevation. And it's beautiful up there, the pines and the trees and everything. So we have a lot to give and offer. We just have to market it. And I think we're on the right track to do that for the future. Mining is huge. I mean, we still have 3 active mines in our community. I mean, we're not a past mining community. We're an active community mining. And I know people think of mining as a bad thing, but I think it's something that builds your character, your leadership. It's a community. It's how we survive.